So I'm sitting and I'm just making it home. But I went to go do one of my videos, Take Back Tuesday videos, and for whatever reason, I know the reason now, but I could not get the video out. I could not feel the fullness of what I normally feel when God is giving me a word. Now, do I believe he gave me this word early this morning? Yes. But when I pulled back up into the parking lot to come home tonight after work, I just did not feel the word like I should have. And so for a moment there, of course I was trying to force it. I was trying to like, okay, I got to get this word out or whatever. And then in the spirit I heard um no, you know. And so I was like, okay, I did it a few times, but I was like, nothing that God ever gives me is this hard to get out, right? And so I said, okay, I was obedient. I came upstairs and, put my stuff down on the table and came back to my room. Now, normally I'll come back to my room and I'll just try to unwind and maybe read out of my, journal or something like that, right? Or whatever I do. I might even watch a video before I lay down and go to sleep. But tonight, I felt in my spirit, and I don't even know if I felt it or it was just an instinct to go back in my kid's room and just like, give him a kiss goodnight. And when I got back to my son's room, I put my hand on his head because I felt something. I started to walk out, but then I felt something say, just pray for him. So I prayed for him, put my hand on his head and just prayed for him. And then I went into my daughter's room. And my oldest baby, she was in the bed asleep, and normally she's up at this time. So um normally if she's up, then I'm gonna just kind of be up to entertain her. But I went in her room and put my hand on her head and just prayed over her and just said, God, just be with her while she sleep. And then I went into my middle baby's room. And when I went into her room, immediately I recognized that she was awake. And I'm like, what you doing up? And she was like, nothing. I'm just up, playing with a hanger and da da da. Now, if a lot of y'all don't know my kids like that. But if anybody know anything about Ariel, Ariel goes to sleep at the drop of a hat. I mean, when the lights turn out, Ariel is like calling hogs immediately. So I knew in my spirit, I was like, I don't believe you, you know. And so she went on to try to explain herself and tell her little fib of why she was awake. And I'm like, nah, I don't believe you. So I said, get up. I said, where's that phone? She went to that I don't know. Now, mind you, just the other morning, she did that I don't know routine and had the phone in the bathroom with her. So I pull up and I said, Ariel, get up. And I pulled the cover back, get up. She got up and where was the phone? Under her, right? So immediately I'm looking at her like, come on, really? Like really, But I heard in the spirit at that moment, now is a teachable moment rather than a moment of chastisement. It's a teachable moment for me, and it was a teachable moment for her. Had I stayed in that car and forced myself to get a word out, I would not have been up there in the room to see, what she was doing. Had I not listened, had I not obeyed, had I not been unctioned and actually was willing to go, it would have just kind of went over my head. I'm saying all that to say, um, and we went through our little spiel. I prayed for her. I even cried because I see how the enemy is just really trying to get these kids in their youth. Because when I opened up her phone, she was talking to a app called Operation True Love. It's an AI app. And I'm sitting there like, these AI apps and things like that, boy, I'm telling you, they are really taking the minds of our children. They really are robbing these children of individuality and personality. You know what I'm saying? And she went down this spiel of saying that she was lonely and that's why she was, communicating with this robot. And I'm just like, Lord, what is this? You know what I'm saying? And in my spirit, I heard, this your time. This your time to tell her. This your time to pray for her. This your time to show the unconditional love of God. This your time to give her the love instead of chastisement that she needs, you know? And sometimes we get so frustrated with our children sometimes that we just be ready to jump off the deep end. But I encourage you to take your time with your kids. And I want y'all to listen to these children. And I want y'all to pay attention and I want you to pray in the spirit for these kids because sometimes we just don't know what's going on. And so I encourage you on today, man, take your time with your children. Not only that, but listen to the spirit. When it's not easy and it's not fluid and it's not flowing, know that that is not God and he's telling you to move. He's telling you to go. You got to know when God is telling you. So we got to stand firm. And we got to stand firm and we got to know when God is telling us to move. And we got to know when he's telling us to stand still. We got to be willing to hear his voice and we got to be willing to be submissive to his voice. And had I not been submissive and saying like, nah, and knowing him and knowing I would have definitely came in this house tired, got in my bed, not paid any attention to her, stayed in my car trying to get a word out. And this might be for some of you out here that's putting out these words that you saying the Lord and told you and neglecting the very thing that he's placed around you to minister to. My last thing on the list is to minister to people who should have a relationship with God themselves. And my first thing on the list is to minister to my children who I know I can stand in the gap for. And I know I can help them build trust in God in their youth. That is my first and foremost objective in life is my kids. And so I thank God for this lesson. I thank God for an opportunity to share some things with my daughter in her weakness. I thank God for the moments where, I can take the time out to build and be patient and to understand his direction and how he wants me to move and where he wants me to go. I thank God for giving me the ability to hear the soundness of his voice and the stillness of his voice. Because sometimes we get caught up in this world because we want a platform and we want messages to be given out and we want, we want it to look the way we want it to look. And all the while, we're falling short of how God really wants us to move in that moment. Is Take Back Tuesday important? Yeah, because your salvation is important. But the only thing that's required for your salvation is that you believe in God. You believe that Jesus died on the cross for your sins. Now, I went back there to also teach her not only to believe in God, but to build on that belief through trusting God with everything that you go through in life. You turn back to him, you trust him, and you rely on him in every single thing that you go through in life. And this is just a teachable moment for me. And I pray to God that it's a teachable moment for somebody else. Because had I not listened, had I not known how it feels to have the Spirit, I would be walking in my own power and in my own will. But because I know what it feels like, he pushed me to come into this house and not put that word out. He pushed me to go back there in that room and see what my daughter was doing. He pushed me. And I'm willing to go wherever he pushes me. No matter who falls off and no matter who stays, I'm willing to go wherever he pushes me. And you should be willing to go wherever he pushes you to, because you know that is the divine order of how he wants you to move. All right. Peace out. I love y'all.